Good evening from the State of Kuwait. Welcome to the 7 o'clock news for Thursday, the 12th of February 2015. I am Dalia Badran with the headlines for tonight. The National Assembly agrees to discuss the power outage that took place late yesterday. U.S. President Barack Obama says the so-called Islamic State is on the losing end as he asks Congress to authorize military force against them. A deal is reached on a ceasefire and withdrawal of heavy weapons in eastern Ukraine after all-night negotiations in Belarus. Greek and eurozone officials end a round of talks without basic agreement on how to proceed in negotiations over the country's debt crisis. Hello and welcome. During the complementary session it held today, the National Assembly agreed to MPs' request to dedicate part of the debates to the issue of power outage that took place late yesterday. The Minister of Public Works and Minister of Electricity and Water, Abdulaziz Al Ibrahim, expressed his readiness to provide the MPs with preliminary information about the causes of the outage, praising staff and workers of the Ministry of Electricity and Water for succeeding in restoring power within a short period of time. The Assembly also approved submission of a report by the Audit Bureau's chairman proposing to charge an international investment agency with assessing management of the reserve funds at the Public Investment Authority to the Committee of Budgets and Final Accounts. The MPs then listened to a presentation by the Deputy Chairman of the Audit Bureau on irregularities in the final accounts. Within the same text, Speaker Marzouk Al-Ghanem said that this session is considered as a development in the Parliament's monitoring role over the government. Al-Ghanem added that the purpose of this session was not to highlight the negativities, but to tackle the reports submitted by the Audit Bureau, pointing out that the Budget and Final Accounts Committee was the party who called for holding this meeting so as to benefit from these reports. The Deputy Premier and Minister of Interior, Sheikh Mohammed Al-Khalid Al-Sabah, held a meeting with senior security officials in the presence of the Undersecretary of the Ministry of Interior, Lieutenant General Sulaiman Al-Fahd, during which he checked on the ongoing preparations adopted by all security authorities to implement the national campaign of collecting unlicensed firearms and ammunition. Sheikh Mohammed Al-Khalid also expressed deep gratitude and appreciation to the Kuwaiti nationals as well as expatriates over their positive response to the ministry's efforts in handling the power outage that hit most of the country yesterday evening. Sheikh Mohammed Al-Khalid said security authorities contained the situation efficiently and swiftly in cooperation with all concerned state agencies, which helped preserve order until the power was gradually restored to the affected areas. On the other hand, the Deputy Premier and Minister of Interior urged those who use the social media to start malicious rumors to stop such destructive practices for the sake of maintaining stability and safety of their beloved homeland. Sheikh Mohammed Al-Khalid then hailed the positive stances of the MPs who voiced their support in this regard through press and media statements as well as social interactions that reflected the cohesion of the Kuwaiti society. Security Media Department at the Ministry of Interior said in a statement that the widespread power outage that hit large parts of Kuwait yesterday was due to a sudden technical malfunction at the Sabbiya power station. The statement added that the ministry dealt with the emergency immediately according to the preset plan and summoned extra security patrols to maintain traffic fluency and provide help for those in need all over the affected areas in a quick and professional manner. It stressed that the emergency line 112 received many calls for help, which was instantly responded to through concerned police forces. The statement also referred to the solid coordination and cooperation among all state authorities until the malfunction was fixed and power was gradually restored to all affected areas. U.S. President Barack Obama asked Congress to formally authorize military force against the so-called Islamic State militants, declaring they are on the defensive and going to lose. Obama said a large deployment of U.S. troops is not necessarily needed to fight the IS, but he argued that the 3-page proposal he sent to lawmakers would give him and his successor the needed flexibility to wage a battle which is likely to take some time. Under Obama's proposal, the use of military force would be authorized for 3 years, unbounded by national borders. The initial reaction to his congressional request varied as Republicans expressed unhappiness that Obama chose to exclude any long-term commitment of ground forces, while some Democrats voiced dismay that he had opened the door to deployment at all.
In the days and weeks ahead, we'll continue to work closely with leaders and members of Congress on both sides of the aisle. I believe this resolution can grow even stronger with the thoughtful and dignified debate that this moment demands. I'm optimistic that it can win strong bipartisan support and that we can show our troops and the world that Americans are united in this mission.
Israel announced a plan to overtake 200 acres of land of Al-Shuyukh village northeast of Al-Khalil as it plans to expand one of the nearby settlements. Fatma Abdul Karim has more in this report.
Israeli authorities announced a new plan to confiscate nearly 2,000 acres of lands of Al-Shuyukh village to the northeast of Hebron. Large parts of the village's lands were taken over and declared as state lands, then used for the erection of a settlement on the lands of Al-Shuyukh and Sa'ir.
This area of Al-Shuyukh village, and in case of its confiscation, will take up 2,000 acres to complete a new ring of settlements connecting them from eastern Jerusalem to the south of Hebron.
As this is not the first time areas of this Palestinian village are deducted for the illegal nearby settlement of Asfar. Families of the village are concerned at the impact of this confiscation on their livelihood. Observers, however, believe this heated fever of house demolitions and land confiscations will further increase as Israel gets closer to its upcoming elections.
Unfortunately, every Israeli elections is becoming a competition. Who will be more extreme, who will be more racist, who will be more expansionists against the Palestinians. And the Israeli public opinion is also shifting rapidly towards the racist positions, to the ultra-right.
The lands confiscated in the northeast of Hebron are likely to be used to expand the nearby settlement illegally established on Palestinian lands, according to Israeli reports. This serious escalation in land grab is materializing into further settlement expansion, in which Israel is clearly defying international powers that are criticizing these actions but are unable to halt them. Fatma Abdul Karim, State of Kuwait Television, Ramallah, Palestine.
Thank you, Fatma. The United Nations Special Envoy to Yemen, Jamal bin Omar, warned that the country is on the brink of civil war and accused all sides of contributing to the political and economic turmoil. Yemen is slipping further into chaos as the Houthis consolidate their grip on power after seizing the capital in September and sidelining the central government. They have been advancing into southern territories, confronting with southerners. Meanwhile, Al-Qaeda-affiliated fighters seized an army base in southern Yemen and held soldiers prisoners today after the United States, Britain and France closed their embassies in Sana'a, citing security concerns. This came after Yemenis in the capital Sana'a and the central city of Taiz held the largest protest yet against the takeover by the Houthis. An agreement aimed at ending the fighting in Ukraine was today reached following marathon talks in Belarus. The leaders of Russia, Ukraine, Germany, and France announced that a ceasefire would begin on the 15th of February. The deal also includes weapon withdrawals and prisoner exchanges, but key issues remain to be settled. The pro-Russian rebels in eastern Ukraine have signed the agreement. French President François Hollande said he and German Chancellor Angela Merkel would ask their European Union partners to support the deal at a summit later today. Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko said the deal does not include agreement on any autonomy or federalization for eastern Ukraine, despite strong resolve from Russia. Earlier, Russian President Vladimir Putin said the agreement includes special status for the rebel regions, as well as provisions on border controls and humanitarian issues. Hours before leaders reached a new ceasefire deal, explosions shook Ukraine's rebel stronghold Donetsk today. Heavy shelling from both incoming and outgoing artillery was heard in the northern part of the city early on the day, and several apartment buildings and a hospital were hit. The deputy commander of the self-proclaimed Donetsk People's Republic said 9 people were killed in the preceding 24-hour period, while 3 died during the night. More than 5,300 people have died since April in the fighting between Ukrainian forces and Russia-backed separatists in the regions of Donetsk and Luhansk. Greek and eurozone officials today failed to reach an agreement over Greece's debt crisis, though both sides said there was still hope for a deal. Eurogroup president said 7 hours of talks in Brussels were constructive, but they ended without a joint statement to outline procedural steps ahead of further talks next Monday. Greece insists its bailout deal with the EU is punitive and must end, while the EU warns Greece to abide by the deal. Greece government, led by the Syriza party, says the conditions of the 240 billion euros bailout have impoverished Greece. It was elected on a promise to end the bailout and ease the austerity measures that have accompanied it. The United Nations chief refugee official said today that the European Union must establish a full-scale search and rescue operation to avoid more tragedies involving migrants in the Mediterranean. UN High Commissioner for Refugees was speaking after more than 300 people died trying to cross the sea from Africa to Italy this week, adding pressure on Europe to expand a border operation that lacks a clear mandate to save lives. He said if Europe does not implement a wider operation, it is inevitable that many more people will die trying to reach safety in Europe. The Italian operation was abandoned after criticism that its aggressive search and rescue patrols encouraged migrants. Migrants and asylum seekers from Syria and sub-Saharan Africa have been crossing the Mediterranean, often departing from Libya aboard rubber ships in severe winter conditions. Supported and hosted by Kuwait National Petroleum Company, KNPC, the Maintenance Kuwait Summit 2015 took place at the Hilton Resort. The summit addressed several issues such as how to reduce equipment downtime and integrate new and old systems to better improve maintenance strategies. Local, regional, and international oil and gas maintenance experts joined the conference to demonstrate the best practice planning and maintenance executions. Here is more on the summit in this report by Salim Al-Kandari.
Supported and hosted by Kuwait National Petroleum Company, KNPC, the Maintenance Kuwait Summit 2015 took place at the Hilton Resort. The summit addressed several issues such as how to reduce equipment downtime and integrate new and old systems to better improve maintenance strategies.
The case study is to how to eliminate the leakages while operating. It has an impact on how it has an impact to reduce the maintenance cost, how to sustain operations, how to avoid shutdowns and unplanned shutdowns. We have presented this case, and it has an impact on KMBC profitability last year. We have saved yearly about $1 million US by implementing these recommendations.
Today I present a presentation about challenges and the strategic plan which we are doing to avoid the unplanned shutdown. And one of the major example which we presented, it is related to on-stream repair of heater. It was a new ideas implemented in Mina Abdullah refinery, that we suffer from hotspot on the heater, and at that time it was impossible to be isolated for many reasons. So what we done, we think out of the box in a way that to repair the subject heater without shutdown.
Well, the conference is very important in my view, because it gives an overview on the maintenance around the stations and for different type of facilities. From my stand and from what I presented is about tank inspection and tank maintenance, because this is the biggest problem we are facing in the aging facilities. So the tank inspection, there are different type of tank inspection. There is a general observation in the tank inspection. There is an external inspection can be done without shutting down the tank. And there is internal tank inspection, which requires lots of effort, lots of operations involvement, lots of carefulness from the HSE point of view, and to enter the tank and to inspect it thoroughly, and then decide what needs to be repaired and what not.
The event aimed to highlight Kuwait's global leadership role in oil and gas industry, further inform and update the Arab countries about the industry's latest innovative technologies and practices, and provide an opportunity for local, regional and international vendors to showcase their products. Oil and gas companies face furthermore challenges beside the drop of the oil prices. They have to maintain cost effectively with minimum loss. From the Hilton Hotel, this is Salim Kindiri reporting for the English News.
Thank you, Salim. At the end of this week's trading at Kuwait Stock Exchange, the main indices closed with mixed boards. The KSX 15 recorded 1,094.87 points with a gain of 2.64 of a point, and the weighted index closed at 449.88 points, earning 1.24 points. However, the price index ended trading at nearly 6,096 points, losing 6.73 points. Value of traded shares reached approximately 14.8 million Kuwaiti dinars. The volume of the exchange stocks, some 127 million through 4,232 deals. And finally tonight, the Japanese Embassy, in collaboration with Kuwait National Cinema, hosted an event entitled Japan Animated Film Festival. A number of award-winning Japanese films were screened free of admission over a period of 2 nights for the audience. The opening night witnessed huge crowds gather at Science-Cape Laila, eager to watch animated Japanese films, which have earned a reputation of being highly developed, entertaining, and sophisticated.
Audiences viewing some of the Japanese animated films at Cinescape Layla were more than impressed with Japan's film industry and the creative, rich imagination Japanese film producers enjoy. Many did in fact add that they were not new to Japanese cinema and are quite aware of the history of Japan's innovative cinema, especially in animation.
Japan Anime Film Festival. So Embassy holds the movie event every year in cooperation with Kuwait National Cinema Company. So this year we will show 5 Japanese anime. And Japanese animation is one of the most popular movie in the world, but not only in Kuwait but also in other countries. And tonight we'll show 5 animation film, and all of guests absolutely can enjoy fully to our event.
Japan is in fact one of the leading countries in the animation industry and is well developed. It has produced countless great works that have received rave reviews. Since the first Japanese animation film was produced in 1945, many films have been produced and screened to international audiences.
I'm very happy we have a chance to introduce Japanese movie every year. This year, particularly, we are choosing the Japanese animation, science fiction and fantasy ones. We are very successful in Japanese animation, such as in Kuwait, Grandizer or Gundam. They are very popular animation in Japan. So we'd like to introduce a variety of Japanese science fiction and fantasy movies this time, through which we'd like to introduce Japanese imagination, creativity, sensitivity, cherished by the creator.
Japanese film is about something very thing, but tomorrow it's going to be a funny video.
The Japanese embassy, extremely humbled and proud of bringing Japanese film to Kuwait, was all zeal and enthusiasm to be having the opportunity of sharing the Japanese culture with the local culture through film and art.
Japan Animated Film Festival has brought much delight and entertainment to all the audiences, including the very enthusiastic and curious children. From Leila Gallery Cinescape, I'm Gera Jaburi reporting to you for the English News.
Thank you, Gonwa. For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. And before we end, here is a quick reminder of today's headlines. The National Assembly agrees to discuss the power outage that took place late yesterday. U.S. President Barack Obama says the so-called Islamic State is on the losing end as he asks Congress to authorize military force against them. A deal is reached on a ceasefire and withdrawal of heavy weapons in eastern Ukraine after all-night negotiations in Belarus. Greek and eurozone officials end a round of talks without basic agreements on how to proceed in negotiations over the country's debt crisis.